Hi there, I'm Shelly, and today we're going to do a prenatal yoga flow together. Now, today's flow is for all trimesters. I do want to encourage you to have checked in with your doctor or your medical team if you have a midwife, whoever it is, just to make sure that yoga is safe for you in your body right now. And I also am going to show you a bunch of different props that I have to make yoga more accessible, and also let you know that no props are ever needed, but that way you have them available if you want. So after I go through them, if you need to pause and go collect some things, come back and join us, or honestly, since it's a video, you can pause whenever you need to and come back when you're ready. So first, I'll take you through the props I have. I have a blanket. You do not need a fancy yoga blanket. It sometimes helps to have a little bit more firm of a blanket, so you might want to get like a beach towel or something a little thicker, not too slippery. And if you have a yoga blanket, great. I have my bolster. Again, you do not need a bolster. It's usually just at the end for our relaxation anyways. If you're familiar with yoga and know you like a bolster, go ahead and incorporate it wherever you'd like. If you don't have a bolster, you can always use a firm bed pillow, would be another great option, or sometimes even just 2 pillows. I have my yoga strap. This one I love because it's super versatile. You do not need a strap at all. You could use a belt, you could use a scarf, you could use a kitchen towel rolled up. So there's a lot of options when it comes to straps. And then I have my yoga blocks, and I have a couple different sizes just because I use a couple different sizes. But if you have a foam one, whatever you have at home would be great. If you think you might want blocks and don't have blocks, I have one right here. You could use something like a thicker library book or a couple books. You just want to make sure that you take the dust jacket off so it's not slippery when you push your hands down into it. The goal of a block is to raise the ground up to you, either under your hands or under your feet. All right, so that's all our props. Oh, I also have a water bottle. I highly recommend having a water bottle. I have one with me whenever I practice yoga, pregnant or not, but especially when you're pregnant, it helps to stay hydrated. Might mean you need to pause to run to the bathroom, but no worries, just come on back whenever you're ready. I have a chair here. I don't know if I'm gonna bring the chair out for this practice, but especially if you're in the 3rd trimester or have any mobility challenges, please feel free to use a chair for any of the postures, even the standing ones. Whatever we're doing standing, if we're standing tall, you can sit tall, follow along with the arms, and just use a variation of the legs that feels comfortable in your body. I think that's everything I've got as far as props go. I do want to encourage you, I kind of touched on it already, but I'm here as your guide and the journey is yours to take. So please follow along with me as much as you feel comfortable. But if anything ever hurts in your body, we want to stop. And that really goes for yoga in general. We want yoga to feel good and stretchy, but not painful. Especially when we're pregnant. We might feel pain in muscles we didn't even know we had, or things that just feel different because our body's always changing. So we want to be working on encouraging strength and encouraging mobility and kind of maintaining what we had. But pregnancy is not the time to be pushing to the edge and really challenging ourselves. Now, if you're a super experienced yogi, super fit in your muscles, and you feel comfortable, especially if you're in the 1st trimester, doing some deeper expressions of the pose or going a little more fully when you stretch, that's great, and you probably are already really in tune with your body. If you're newly coming to yoga, I just really recommend taking it easy. We can take breaks. You can always sit like I'm sitting now. You can sit in a chair. You can just pause the video and come back, do it in smaller chunks. You can also, I always encourage snacks. I remember when I was pregnant and I'd be working out, if I started feeling dizzy or nauseous, sometimes it's because I was actually hungry or it was my blood sugar. So I might just sit and watch the instructor and nibble on a saltine or whatever I had available, piece of fruit. So never feel afraid to take breaks as your body needs them. Modify poses, take different variations as your body needs them, and remember that this is your journey and you're gonna come along with me, but I wanna make sure that you're really in tune and listening to your body throughout the whole practice. And with that, we're going to try to find some peace and some ease and connection along with all the work that we're doing. And I thought we could start by connecting with ourselves and our body and our minds, and also with our babies. So if you want to sit up on something, if your hips are feeling tight or your belly is getting pretty large, if you're in the later 2nd or 3rd trimester and you just don't feel as comfortable sitting on the floor, you can always sit on a chair. Otherwise, you could use a blanket and put it right under your bottom and feel a little bit more space. You could sit up on a block if that's comfortable. You can also sit up on a bolster, depending what your bolster looks like and how firm it is and how it feels under your body. So wherever you're at, go ahead and find some comfortable way to sit up. Again, if you're in the later stages of your pregnancy, I highly recommend sitting up on something just to give yourself a little bit more room and a little bit more comfort and ease. And what we're going to do is we're just going to breathe. We'll start with breathing. In yoga, we take nice deep belly breaths all the way down to our belly. If you are larger with your baby, you might not be able to take as big of a belly breath. The baby might be in the way or might make your lungs not fill up as much. So just take as deep of a breath as feels comfortable. We want to get a lot of good oxygen into our bloodstream through our breathing, but we don't want to give ourselves any discomfort. So I'm going to take one hand and put it on my heart and one hand and put it on my belly. If this feels comfortable to you, go for it. Otherwise, if you want to connect a little more with your baby, go ahead and put both hands on the belly or both hands on the baby. And we're just going to breathe in nice and slowly. And breathe out nice and slowly. Nice job. One more time. Breathe in nice and slowly. Breathe out nice and slowly. Feel free, as we do any breathing exercises or any of the exercises today, to close your eyes if you're comfortable. If it's not comfortable, I just recommend softening your gaze, and that means not being pinpointed staring at something, but just kind of let everything go a little hazy. For me, it always reminds me of when I take my glasses off. So if you're a glasses or contacts wearer and you take them off and everything's kind of fuzzy, we're going for that effect where we're not laser focused on anything. So go ahead and take a few more breaths. Sometimes it helps to center and ground, for me, if we're counting. So go ahead and feel any motions you might feel from your belly and your baby, and we'll breathe in for 3. 1, 2, 3, and out for 3. 1, 2, 3. Nice work. Let's try it again. Breathe in for 3. 1, 2, 3, and out for 3. 1, 2, 3. And last round. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2, 3. Nice work. If your eyes were shut, go ahead and flutter them open. I know for me, sometimes it's just that initial breathing of a yoga class that helps me really leave the rest of the world behind me, go, I'm focused and I'm here and I'm ready to get on my mat and have some fun. So the next breath I want to introduce to us is bee breath or Brahmari breath. Now, if you've ever practiced this breath and you know that you prefer the way where we close our nostrils, fingers on the eyes, over the ears, if you like having the full face of fingers, go for it. If you've never practiced it and don't know what I mean, or it feels a little confining to you, to me it always feels a little confining and almost claustrophobic to have my hands on my face in that manner. I know why I'm doing it, but I don't love the feel of it. So especially when I teach kids yoga, we just plug the ears. So there's 2 options. I'll come up close so you can see. This little cartilage part, I can either just push right there to seal off the ear, and it kind of sounds like you're underwater, or you can do just earmuffs and cover it up, and you'll have the same kind of feeling of the sound. And the idea is we're kind of getting into our own little bee cave as we do this. Brahmari means bee in Sanskrit. I'm teaching you this one because it's great for relieving stress. It's great for relieving tension. And it's also really fun to do as a family. So if you have younger siblings at home that are soon going to be the older siblings, it'd be a great thing to do together. You can have fun. It actually even helps with speech development because you're buzzing like a bee. And it's a great way to interact with your child, and you're teaching them a lovely skill for when the baby is born. Maybe the baby's getting more attention than they are and they're getting a little frustrated. This is a great calming tool for children. So they can use this to help themselves calm down. You can do it as a family together to kind of either turn it into a game and just calm down some frustrations or just have fun. And it's also great as if you do have siblings, as they age, when someone's pestering someone else, this is a great breath you can use where instead of something like a timeout, they can just go and do their little buzzing breath, help themselves regulate and calm down and come back to whatever the activity is. So let's give it a try. Enough talking. I'm going to take that nice deep belly breath in that I've taken, again, to my level of comfort, then cover my ears or close up my cartilage on my ears and buzz as I breathe out until all the breath is gone. Ready? So breathe in, hands over the ears, and buzz. Nice job. I'm going to invite you, we're going to do it 2 more times, and I'll invite you to go with your own breath so you don't have to follow me, especially if you have your ears covered. And also close your eyes if it feels comfortable. Again, if not, just soften that gaze, but it can be really nice and really centering and grounding to just feel like it's just the only sound you hear. You can push away the rest of the day, not worry about what's coming ahead, and center on your practice. So let's breathe in. Cover those ears. Buzz. Great work. And if you can hear me, one more time, breathe in, big belly breath. Cover those ears and buzz. Nice job. If you're done breathing, go ahead and open your eyes, uncover your ears, and we'll get going with the rest of our yoga practice. And again, just remember that breath is it's kind of fun, kind of silly, but really centering, and it really eases the tension, especially when you feel the buzzing in your jaw. That's an area we all hold a lot of tension often. So it can be a really, just a really nice breath to take as well. All right. So let's warm up our neck and shoulders. If at any point you don't want to be sitting up anymore, if you're on a block or a bolster and it's starting to feel not so comfortable, if you want to downgrade, go to a blanket. Otherwise, you can always remove the blanket from under your bum at any point. But let's work on warming up our neck and shoulders next. Again, another area that holds a lot of tension, especially as we get further into our stages of pregnancy. You might have more weight on the front of your body, obviously from the belly or the breasts, and now all of a sudden you're feeling a lot of almost hunching and shoulder and neck tension. So we want to help stretch that out. So why don't we put our hands on our knees or thighs if that's more comfortable. Breathe in, bring the shoulders up to the ears, and sigh it out. Nice work. Let's try it again. Breathe in. And one more time, shoulders to ears. Breathe in. And let it out a big sigh. Nice job. Then let's take our shoulders up, down. You'll feel your shoulder blades roll back as you pull them back. And down all the way. Up, circle back, down all the way. Once more, up, circle back, down all the way. Good job. And then let's change the direction. So you're moving with your breath. As you inhale, bring them up and back. Exhale, around and down. Nice work. Exhale, up, or inhale, up and back. Exhale, down and around, Inhale, up and back. Exhale, down and around. Nice work. If it feels good, you can kind of just do a little roll with alternating shoulders. Go backwards, go forwards. See how that feels. Sometimes that can waken up a little bit different muscle set. Nice job. And then I'm going to take one ear over one shoulder. So I'm taking my right ear over my right shoulder. And I'm just going to breathe in and out. If it feels comfortable, I can bring my right hand up on top of my head for a little more stretch. I'm not pushing, just kind of giving myself a little deeper stretch. And breathe in and out. And then if I want to, I can also try bringing my opposite hand, my left hand in this case, out to the side. I might keep it here static. I might lift it up only about shoulder height or anywhere in between. Nice work. I can try moving it up and down, or I might find a sweet spot where I'm like, oh, this feels really great, and hold the stretch there for a breath or two. You can also try sweeping it forward gently and sweeping it backward to engage some different muscles in your upper back. Nice work. And again, moving really slowly, almost like you're swimming through water. Nice job. Come back to center wherever you were at. I like to kind of wiggle in between. It's like another little shoulder wiggle. And now I'm going to bring my other ear over my other shoulder. So for me, left ear over left shoulder. And then if you'd like, and that felt good on the other side, you can try it on this side with the left hand on top of the head. If that's too intense of a stretch, just keep that hand on the ground, nice and firm on the ground. And again, raising that opposite arm out if that feels good. You can try holding it static. You can try lifting it to about shoulder height. We don't really want to go higher than that because we don't want to hurt any neck muscles. You can try lifting and lowering. Lift and lower. Nice work. And you can also try that sweeping it to the front gently, any amount, and sweep to the back. Front and to the back. Nice work. Wherever you're at, come back to center. Again, wiggle it out a little. That is great for our shoulders and great for our necks. If you ever want to do some, I don't really teach neck circles often because our necks are so delicate, and it's something that for some people it feels great, for other people it can cause really quick injuries or just not feel good. So if you want to try, I usually do neck half moons. So I go from shoulder to shoulder, chin to chest, and then shoulder to shoulder, head around the back. So let's try that, starting one ear over one shoulder, and then rock your chin to your chest. So then your ear is over your opposite shoulder. Nice work. Chin to chest, first shoulder, chin to chest, opposite shoulder. Great work. And then we'll do the same thing to the back. So now my ear is over one shoulder. I'm going to rock my head to the back and to the other shoulder. Rock my head to the back to the first shoulder. You can go back and forth a few times. I guess these are sort of like U's or half circles instead of full circles, but it's a great way to be safe with the neck while providing a really good neck stretch. So we'll come up into center again. And then I think we're going to start still seated with some additional warm-ups and then move to our hands and knees. So right now I feel like my body has gotten warm enough that I'm going to remove the blanket from under me. If you want to keep the blanket there or whatever you're sitting up on, these can be done either way. They can even be done in a chair. So there's a couple options here. If you just need a little more room in your legs, you can always pull them out. I'll scooch back so you can see. You can put them into butterfly legs at this point if that feels good. Otherwise, you could do Sukhasana. I often do half lotus, whatever's comfortable in your body. And we're gonna sit nice and tall, hands on the knees or hands on the hips or even hands on the ground, especially if you need it for a little more balancing. And we're gonna breathe in. Why don't we reconnect with baby one more time? So hand on one heart, hand on our belly, breathe in, breathe out. If you want to set an intention for your practice, you could also do that at this point. Breathe in, breathe out, or even an intention for your pregnancy. Maybe a healthy baby, healthy pregnancy, finding movement and ease throughout the day, whatever it might be. Feel free to set an intention here and just breathe it in if you're choosing to. And then breathe it out and imagine that it's already happening. Nice work. Okay, then we'll come up, hands on knees, hands on thighs, hands on mat. And we're going to do some gentle circles. So bringing our body forward and around back, forward and around back. I've always liked the analogy, imagine you have like peanut butter or honey or molasses, something really spreadable that's right on the front of your chest, and you're kind of using your chest as the spreader. So it's kind of like when you spread it across bread. I use that often with kids just because it's a great way, go ahead and switch directions, to imagine how you can move slowly, how you can kind of articulate the muscles as you roll through these hip circles. And these often feel great during pregnancy at any time. Hip circles, hips get very tight during pregnancy, so hip circles are usually a very welcome movement. All right, we'll come back to center. Let's do some cat-cow. So I'll turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to start tall with a neutral spine, thinking of my head over my heart and my heart over my pelvis. Especially during pregnancy, our spine always has a natural bit of curve, and some people have more, some people have less. During pregnancy, it gets even more pronounced. So we're going to still work with that natural curve, but we just like to think head over heart, heart over hips, because that kind of gives us that sitting tall idea in our body. So hands on my hips, I'm going to breathe in, roll my shoulders back, let my chest open up and come forward. I can gaze straight ahead or up at the ceiling for cow pose. And then I'm going to breathe out, rounding my shoulders, rounding my upper back, and my navel might tuck in towards my back. You might not feel as much later in your pregnancy. And then we'll do this 2 more times. So breathe in, shoulders come back, chest comes forward, gaze may go up. Breathe out, round the shoulders, round the spine. Again, remember to do it any amount. It doesn't have to be a huge motion. You just want to feel a stretch in that upper back body. And then one more time. Breathe in, shoulders come back, chest comes forward. Breathe out, round the shoulders and round the spine. Nice job. All right. Then we're going to do some seated gentle twists. In pregnancy, we never want to twist our lower spine, our lumbar. We don't want to twist in the middle of the thoracic. So we want to really be focused on twisting only our upper spine. And the reason we want to do that is we don't want to torque or twist our bellies and our baby where all that development is happening. So when we take our twists, we don't go hardly as deep as you may if you're familiar with a standard non-prenatal yoga class. So when I'm twisting, I'm just going to gently raise my arms up and twist very slightly, almost just like a neck and shoulders, and then gently place my hands. One can come behind me or on the mat beside me. One might stay right on my thigh. And just take a breath in and out. Nice job. Come back up to center. Arms come back up. We'll just take one more gentle twist to the other side. Breathe in and breathe out. Nice work. I like to practice these sitting first because it doesn't let us twist quite as far, and it kind of helps us feel in our body how far we're really twisting and keeping our baby and our own bodies nice and safe. All right, and then why don't we take some lateral bends and we'll move on to hands and knees. So for side bends, as you can see, I gave my own legs a little bit more space. Always feel free to readjust your position. I'm going to take one hand and put it next to me, raise up the other hand on an inhale, and then bend to the side any amount that's comfortable. Again, don't feel like you have to go to your edge or get some kind of personal goal during pregnancy. We really want to just maintain the strength and mobility we have. Go the other side. And we also have a lot of hormones that are already making us feel much more relaxed. They're making our muscles more relaxed, so we want to work with that, not injure. And come back to center. Nice job. Let's move on to our hands and knees. So for some, this might be a super easy transition. For others, especially depending how cumbersome the belly's getting, it might be a slower transition. Again, never forget your water. And I'm going to come onto my hands and knees. So a great way is to turn the legs to one side and slowly, supported with hands, come up to hands and knees. Listen to your body as you do it though and see what's comfortable. If you would like some added support under the knees, depending what stage of pregnancy you're in, or just if you have twingier knees, go ahead and put a blanket right under your knees. So I kind of unfurled my blanket a little from the seating position. I want to be comfortable and not have any weird wrinkles that I'm kneeling on as I do this. So I'm going to come forward onto my blanket. Nice work. I'm going to put my hands right under my shoulders. And legs have a couple options here. My legs can be knees right under my hip joints, or I can bring them a little wider. And especially if I'm in the third trimester, later second trimester, or just have a larger belly, twins, whatever it might be, I might do wide legs. Now, I am not pregnant currently, but I've always liked wide legs for these hip circles myself. So if it just feels good in your body, go for it. And when you're here, you can keep your feet flat on the ground if that feels like it gives you a lot of support. You can also touch the toes together and you kind of have this tripod-y triangle effect with your legs, and you might feel a little more stable and in control if you do it that way. So you can play with it wide, play with it inside. We just don't want to like over rotate and have them sticking out. So either directly behind you pushed into the mat, or try that tripod position. You might need to realign your hands under your shoulders at this point. And then we're going to just do some hip circles. So we're going to push back, come around. And again, you might think of that spreading the peanut butter, spreading the molasses, moving nice and slowly, almost like you're moving through water in this position. And around. And with this one, you're doing hip circles only as big as is comfortable. I know during my pregnancies, I really like to make really big, exaggerated, slow hip circles, and that helped a lot. That was an area I was really stiff. Go ahead and switch directions. Some people might not feel comfortable. Your hip joints might not want to bend that far, and you could take it just like this, a much smaller circle, and still get a lot of benefits from doing these motions. All right, we'll do one more on this side. Nice job. And then we'll come up, and we're going to do cat-cow now that we are in hands and knees. So the same exercise we did sitting, we're going to try from hands and knees. I brought my knees in a little closer because that feels more comfortable for this. But again, feel what feels good in your body. Maybe wide legs is where you're going to stay today. I'm going to breathe in And I let my belly hang down any amount. My shoulders come back gently. I might look towards the sky, or I might just look straight ahead for cow pose. I'm gonna breathe out. My belly hugs in, and I round my shoulders and I round my upper back for cat. Breathe in, shoulders come back, pelvis tilts. We might look towards the sky for cow. Breathe out, round the shoulders, round the spine, belly hugs in for cat. And then one more. Breathe in, shoulders come back, chest comes forward a bit to open for cow. Breathe out, belly hugs in, and we round the shoulders and round the spine. Nice job. All right, we'll come back to a neutral spine. And I'm going to give us an option here to do a bird dog pose or a sunbird pose. Now there's a lot of options, and this depends a lot on how just your general range of motion and also where you're at in your pregnancy. So if you would like, we can put one leg back. I'm stretching out my left leg, and you might just keep it right here on the toes. You might sort of rock back and forth, bring some more opening into the hips, some more opening into the ankle joint. If you feel comfortable, you can raise that leg up. If you want to add arms, especially if you're in the earlier trimesters or you've practiced yoga a lot, you can bring up your alternating arm. If not, just keep that arm right on the ground and lift the leg, or keep the toes on the ground the entire time. So there's a lot of options to work with here. Nice work. Wherever you're at, let's take one more breath in. And as we breathe out, I'm going to lift the leg gently for anyone that is able. If not, you can just stay right here. But if you want to give it a try, I'm lifting my leg gently and I'm bringing it around my bent leg. So I'm getting a little bit more of a stretch. Sometimes it feels good to rock here. It's a little bit of a twist, a sunbird twist. Sometimes it feels good to stay put. If I would like to, I can also take my left arm and cross it over my right and look behind my right shoulder. This is a little bit more of a twist, so if you're not experienced with yoga or in a further trimester, I recommend keeping both arms right on the ground while you put the leg behind you. And then we'll come back. If at any time this is too much on the wrists, or you just need a general break, you can always come back into a puppy pose, into a child's pose, or you can gently walk the hands back, push up and sit on the heels if that's comfortable, to heels lifted or feet flat, and just do some gentle wrist circles, because this is a lot of wrist work. So we can do circles. Nice work. Actually, I think I might throw in here just so you can learn this, because I suffered a lot from carpal tunnel during both my pregnancies. I had it before I was pregnant, and then it really, when the relaxin hormone kicked in, I had a lot of carpal tunnel challenges. So this is a great exercise that you can do if you work with your hands at all. If you're typing, gardening, painting, whatever you might do, or just honestly have fingers and use them, this is a great way to help them work out. So we spread our hands wide and we do webs. Then we curl our fingers for claws. Kind of looks like this, claws. Then we make little birdie beaks, and then fists, paws. And go ahead and do wrist circles in one direction, wrist circles in the other direction. Nice work. Let's try that one more time. This one, I love that it's quick and catchy, so you'll remember it. You can even do it sitting at your desk, right? So we're gonna do webs, claws, bend those fingers, beaks, and paws. Good job. I don't know if you could hear that on the video, but my finger snapped there. So sometimes it'll release and you'll feel some knuckles cracking as well. Nice work. Okay, so we took a wrist break. Let's get back into the other side. So I'm walking back to my mat, or shimmying back to my mat, however you want to get there. Have fun with it. Never forget to take sips of water whenever you need it. And I'm going to come back up onto hands and knees. Now before I was using my left leg out, so I'll be using my right leg out. So just do the opposite leg of what you did before. I'm pressing my into my hands. My shoulders are right over my hands. And I'm pressing into the knuckles of my fingers to take pressure out of my wrist joints. And then I've extended my right leg. And again, you can rock here on the toe if that feels good. Wake up that ankle joint as well, get some mobility. If you'd like to, you can lift the right leg up. If you've lifted the right leg up and you would like to extend the opposite arm, go ahead and extend the left arm for a full bird dog. Remembering this also takes a lot of core work, so not recommended for the later trimesters. Then I would keep both hands on the ground. And then a little bit further, you can always keep those toes right on the ground. Otherwise, bring that right leg over and behind the left for a bit of a twisty stretch in the back of your body. If you'd like, you can bring the right hand over the left hand and look over the left shoulder. Again, remembering that this is a bit deeper of a stretch, so I'd only stick to that in the earlier trimesters. Otherwise, just try the leg. And you can rock back and forth if it feels good. You can stay static if that feels better. Whatever feels good in your body. Then we're going to bring that leg back. Again, anytime you need breaks, you can sit back, do some wrist circles. I'm going to come back up onto my wrist. Also, feel free to always pause and just take a break in that way too. I'm going to come back up onto my hands and knees, and I'm going to offer leg lifts. Now, these could be done throughout most of pregnancy. I'd say they're much easier in the earlier trimesters. And if you have any issues throughout your pregnancy, any concerns, I wouldn't do the leg lifts. I think I would, or I'd ask my medical team before going for it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend out one leg. I'm going to bend at the knee so that my foot, I'm going to keep my foot active, so my foot is parallel with the ceiling. And as I breathe in, I'm going to raise using the muscles of my glutes. So I'm using my butt muscles, and you are going to keep your core a bit engaged as much as you're able during pregnancy. And down, up, and down, up, and down. Now, if you're in early pregnancy or you practice yoga a lot, these might be much easier for you, but I want to make sure this is accessible to everyone. Up and down. Also, if you're familiar with this and want to move faster and it feels okay in your body, go for it. Up and down. Go ahead and do a little shimmy, shake it out, and we'll do the other side. Raise up that other leg, bend it, engage that foot, and we can raise it up and down. Remembering really to target the glute muscles as we do this in the back of the leg. You'll feel it probably running through your hamstrings as well. Up and down, up and down. Let's do two more on this side. 1 and 2. Nice work. Let's end with some more of those hip circles, the same way we started, because you just did a lot of work for your hips. It's really good. We need a lot of strength in our hips during the birthing process itself, so it's really good to maintain that strength. But it can also be really challenging because our hips are tight and sore just from the added weight of the baby and all the inner workings of our body. If you were going in one direction, switch the directions. Nice job. Back and forth again, making these hip circles as big or as small as is comfortable. And then we're going to just take a small rest in a child's pose or puppy pose. And a lot of this depends on your pregnancy stage. Also, if you don't like either of these options, go ahead and just sit cross-legged. So I like to take a wider legged child's pose, and that's great for the growing belly. It gives you more space to move. So I have my knees widened, I have my toes together. And I'll show you puppy pose first and then child's pose. And I'm also going to grab my blocks as another option for this. So if I am doing puppy pose, I'm in a quadruped, I'm in tabletop. I'm going to bring my elbows down where my hands were. And I'm going to walk my hips back. My bottom stays in the sky, kind of like my little puppy tail. And I can bring my head any amount towards the ground. So this is very similar to child's pose, kind of like down dog as well. But it's nice because you have room for the baby in this pose. If you're able to go into child's pose fully, you can push that bottom right back towards your heels and extend the arms out. If they don't feel good extended out, you can bring them in and kind of raise up onto the forearms, but bring your bottom closer to your heels. Also, this is where blocks can be really helpful. You can put the blocks out and you might get a little more extension towards your heels, but with the support of the blocks under your hands, you can make sure you have room for baby, and you also get that great stretch through the shoulders, and you can kind of relax into the blocks and allow them to support you. So wherever you are, take a breath in and out. And one more time, in and out. Nice work. We're going to come up slowly. So come right out of that pose, nice and slowly. And we are going to move now to standing. I say it like that because I know, especially if you do practice yoga, a lot of times your yoga instructor will direct you exactly how you're going to move into standing, especially during prenatal. I always encourage listening to the body a lot and kind of making yoga your own, but especially during prenatal, I almost don't like to tell you how to stand up because your body's going to tell you much better than I could, especially through a video screen. So I'm going to, a lot of people like to push back onto their toes. It would make room for the belly. You can put your hands forward, push your bottom up, straighten the legs, and slowly roll up. That might be a nice way to stand up. If that doesn't work for you, you can always roll the legs to the side, come up to your knees, bring up one leg, then the other leg, and stand up. And you can also use, I'm going to leave my chair there for right now, but you could use the aid of a chair. Put your hands onto the chair. So kneeling, hands under the chair seat, one leg up, hold the chair for support to stand. So lots of options. And for some of you that are in your first trimester, I'm sure this is going to sound really silly, but as the weight of the baby and the shape of the baby increases, you're going to learn where you might just need a little more support and welcome the support to allow yourself to stand. So hopefully we are all in a standing position. We are going to start with raising our hands up over our head and gently bending back any amount. You don't want to put any strain on the abdomen. So any amount that's comfortable. And for some people, it might literally be this. So it looks like almost barely a movement on the screen, but that can feel great. It can open up the shoulders. It can open up the back without putting any added strain on the belly. Up. And then we're going to come down into Anjali and take a breath. Just breathe in nice and slowly. And breathe out. Good work. Then we're going to do a small flow with that back bend incorporated, or just arms up overhead. So I'm going to raise my arms up overhead, bend, if it feels good, to the back just slightly. And then as I exhale, I'm going to bring my hands to my thighs. They could come lower depending on your body type and shape and flexibility, but thighs are great. Flatten out my back so I look like the number 7 almost for a halfway lift. And you can even sink into the heels, sink into the glute muscles a little bit. You might feel it through your hamstrings. Raise back up, inhale, bend back any amount, small if it feels good. Exhale, fold to that halfway lift position. Again, flat back and really sinking into the heels. Keep a bend in the knees. We never want to lock the knees, especially during pregnancy. So a nice, even if it's a little micro bend. And then one more time, breathe in, arms come up, bend back if it feels good, any amount. And then as we breathe out, back to that flat back, halfway lift. Nice job. Now I'm gonna stand back up. If you'll notice, I didn't talk about it before. My feet are a little wider than hips width. I always recommend that for stability during pregnancy. So if you feel good, you can keep them right at hips width. It might feel a little better to keep them a little wider. I just wouldn't recommend keeping them super close together because that puts us on a much smaller pedestal to balance. And with our weight shifting, sometimes we have dizziness, nausea. There can be so much going on during pregnancy. I just want to keep everyone nice and safe. All right. So now we're going to do a variation on a sun salutation. If there's a sun salutation you love and you want to do that and it's still available to you in your practice, go for it. Otherwise, you can follow along with this variation. So I'm going to breathe in, arms come up overhead. Breathe out, arms come down into Anjali. Breathe in and breathe out. Nice work. Breathe in, arms come back up. Breathe out, arms come back to cactus. I'm going to pull my elbows and my shoulders back a little, allow my chest to open. Breathe out, and I'm going to gently fold forward any amount. You can come down. If you come down past your thighs, past your knees, I just want you to keep your gaze out and in front of you, not fully tuck the head and look under, right, directly under you. Want to keep that head elevated so you can come down as far as is comfortable into your fold, or you can stay with that halfway lift. Breathe in again. Arms go up. Breathe out. Hands to the heart. Let's try that one more time. So we're going to breathe in. Arms go up. Breathe out. Hands come to our heart. Take a nice slow breath in and out. Good work. Breathe in. Arms go up. Breathe out, arms come back into goddess or cactus arms. You can really pull those elbows and shoulders back if it feels good to get that stretch through the chest. Breathe in, arms go up. Breathe out, fold forward any amount. Again, you may come low, but just keep your gaze out ahead of you. Step those legs wider if needed to make space for the growing baby, or stick right in that halfway lift with the flat back position. And then we're gonna slowly roll back up. Arms come up, and then arms come down to Anjali at our heart. And we breathe in, and we breathe out. Nice work. Let's take 2 more breaths right here, because that was, even though it might not have seemed like a lot of work, depending on your stage of pregnancy, that's a big full body motion. So let's let our bodies really ground and center and relax. You can keep the hands at the heart, or feel free to put one hand on the belly, connect with baby, one on the heart, or even both hands on the belly. So wherever we're at, we're going to breathe in nice and slowly. Breathe out. Nice job. Let's do 2 more actually. Breathe in. Breathe out. And one last one. Breathe in. And breathe out. Nice work. Then we're going to come down into Malasana, or a yogic squat. And I just want to let you know that supporting the yogic squat could be really beneficial. It'll let you hold it longer. It'll let the muscles really sink into it. If you are familiar with it and can do it without supports, great. If you are familiar with it but think, oh, I might need supports now, depending where I'm at in my pregnancy, also great. And otherwise, just start with supports and you can always take them away. So I'll show you what a yogic squat looks like. I, especially during pregnancy, I always liked having my legs pretty wide. I have very open hips naturally. So depending on your hips, just come at a width that's good for you. Feet point out, and then we come down into a squat. And a lot of cultures actually birth in a position like this, and more hospitals are allowing you to squat, or if you're doing a home birth or midwife birth, they might have you practicing this. Now this can be hard to hold even not pregnant. So similarly, if the hand position isn't happening, you could always put hands right on the thighs. But let me show you ways to support it to make sure we can get the full benefit. So I could put my bolster down and I could squat over my bolster and sit on my bolster. That would be a lovely way. My bolster is pretty low for how the length of my legs. It doesn't feel quite as comfortable as I'd like. So I could take a blanket, put it on top of my bolster, and sit right there. And I could probably sit here and watch at least a moderate length TV show. This could be really comfortable. It would allow my legs to expand, allow my muscles to really feel that opening that I'm going to need for birth. If my hands are at my heart, I can push my elbows into my thighs to get a little bit more of an opening. If they're just on the bolster or they're resting on my thighs, just keep them right there in sort of a more restorative pose. Similarly, I could use blocks. And if I'm using blocks, I might come down and sit on one block, and that's pretty deep. I might also try a second block. So I can build the blocks up to me and sit on them. So wherever you're at, however you want to build up your pose, we want to keep the legs wide, toes out, knees bent, and we want the knees tracking over the direction of the toes and not coming past the toes. So they'll kind of be over the ankles or slightly past, but not past the toes. Go ahead and bring the hands to the heart and push out on the thighs, or hands just resting on the knees, resting on the thighs, really wherever is comfortable. Some people, depending on arm length, might also even want them down here to kind of support, and then the belly can be right out in front. So wherever you are, go ahead and close the eyes if it's comfortable and you feel stable. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's do 2 more breaths, just like that, nice and slowly. Breathe in and breathe out. And one last one. Take the biggest breath you've taken all day, remembering to keep it nice and comfortable in your body. Breathe in and breathe out. Nice work. If your eyes were shut, go ahead and flutter them open. However you are in Malasana, make sure you get out of it safely. So I'm kind of built up on a few blocks. A couple ways you could do this is lean forward with the hands, raise the bottom into the air, come down one knee and then the other, getting yourself into a table position. You could also, if you're sitting in your squat, you could be in your squat and gently come to one side with a knee down, bring the other leg down. You could also remove whatever is under you, supporting you, out, but sometimes that gets a little tricky if you're trying to balance and move, and we don't want anyone tipping over. But again, listen to your body, see what feels good to get out of that pose. All right, so that was a lot of work. Feel free to take some more water. And then we are going to start cooling down because we're almost at the end of our practice. So I want you to find a comfortable seat. I know I just told you to get rid of your props, but that might be sitting up on a prop or a blanket, but you probably don't need it as high as you had from Malasana. So if you're on a block or blanket, go for it. If you're not, you can sit right on the ground. And find what's comfortable in your body. It might be Siddhasana, it might be Sukhasana, it might be a half lotus, however your body feels comfortable today. And we're just gonna breathe and let's reconnect with baby one more time. I'm gonna put both hands on the belly this time. So breathe in. See if you feel any of those sweet motions of the baby. Breathe out. Do it one more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. And one more time. Breathe in. And breathe out. It's kind of cool because babies all respond to yoga differently. I remember my daughter used to do like cartwheels and she loved it and loved all the motion. And I think it used to lull my son to sleep. And he would move a lot less when I was pregnant with him. They were both that way in general throughout the pregnancy, but it was funny how yoga seemed to affect them differently. I encourage you right now to keep your hands on your belly. And I just want you to remember as we breathe in and out, go back to our natural breath, no big breaths. But as we breathe in and out, remember that you are enough. I know pregnancy can be a really stressful and anxious time. It can be a really exciting time too, but there's just so many unknowns that it can have added stresses and added worries. So I want you to know that you are enough. I want you to trust your body. Your body really, truly does know what to do, but sometimes it's hard to tap into that inner tuition and really trust it. But yoga is one great way to start to do that, to trust it and know that it knows what it's doing. And I also want to encourage you, which is another huge one, but it's also challenging, is to offer acceptance and grace. Because I remember throughout pregnancy, there's a lot of things you can't control. You don't know what's going to happen, or things could turn very quickly and you don't know what's going to happen. So you just have to be okay with it, be accepting of it, know that it's all natural and you and your body and your baby will work it out together. And also give yourself grace if you do make a mistake, even if it's something like you're suffering from heartburn, you didn't have time, you ate fast food, now it's that much worse that night and you're not getting a good night's sleep. Don't beat yourself up over it. We all need to eat. You nourished yourself, you nourished your baby, and if you have a little bit of heartburn you have to deal with, that's okay. It's not something to give yourself grace for it versus beating up over it. So I'm going to invite us now to get into a supported Sukhasana, a supported Shavasana, or we can stay in Sukhasana. So if you are comfortable sitting, whether you're sitting on a block or a bolster or a blanket, if you're comfortable right now sitting, stay sitting, and we can do this whole exercise together sitting, or even in a chair, or even if you want to move to the couch or the bed. If you're in your later trimesters, if you're on a couch or bed, I still recommend propping up on some pillows because we don't want to be laying flat on our back. If you want to try the supported Sukhasana and you have the Shavasana and you have the props at home, go for it. So I'm going to take my blocks and I'm going to put one on its lower height, one on its higher height. I'm going to take my bolster, I'm going to scooch over. I'm going to put it right here over both the blocks to kind of make sure that they are supported and I can lean on it safely. Looks like I can lean on it safely. Before we lay down, I have one more thing I wanted to share. I loved doing this when I was pregnant. go ahead, if it's comfortable, stick those feet together like glue, come into Baddha Konasana. And what I always like to do, you can't see my feet, I'll put them up here for you. What I always like to do is give myself a little foot rub. Some people don't like feet, and if you don't, that's fine, but even if you're ambivalent, you can do this and always go wash your hands later. But it feels so good, especially in the later stages of pregnancy, and even once you're not pregnant. But I like to run my hands up the center of my foot, anywhere that there's strain. Rub your thumbs along the arches. You can even come up and go up the ankles and calves. A lot of women have swelling in those areas, especially later in pregnancy, and it might feel good to just give yourself a little bit of a massage. So go ahead and rub the feet, and then we'll do a couple circles in this position. And if this isn't for you, just skip this bit and get right into Shavasana. So we'll do circles. You can do circles holding the feet. If you're in the earlier stages of pregnancy and don't have a super big belly, you can fold over a little if that feels good. Wherever you're at, make sure to have enough width in your legs. You might come out a little wider than you're used to have room for the belly and the baby. So go ahead and do circles in one direction, circles in the other direction. Do a couple in the other direction. Nice work. One hand on that heart, one hand on that baby. Breathe in, breathe out. Great job. And now we can come in to our Shavasana. Again, remembering sitting cross-legged nice and tall is another great way to take this, going into a bed, couch, chair, wherever you feel comfortable. If you have your special setup just like this, I'm going to bring my bum so it's pretty much right at the edge of my bolster, and then I can support literally the upper part of like my bum all the way through my back. Just like that. So I kind of made myself this incline. If it's chilly, feel free to wrap up in a blanket. A lot of times when we're pregnant, we are always hot, so then don't worry about the blanket. And while we're laying here, you could take a Baddha Konasana with your butterfly legs. If that feels good and opens up those hips more, we could extend the legs out. I always liked keeping my legs a little wider than hips width when I was in this position. We can lay back, put one hand on our heart and one hand on our belly. And again, you might feel the motions of the baby. Feel free to rub the belly and just really connect at this moment. We're going to breathe in, breathe out. Once more, breathe in, breathe out. You might take your arms and let them rest to your side. You could roll up a blanket and kind of stack it up so your arms can be comfortable. You could also bring blocks under your arms because with this support, sometimes the arms don't reach. Or you can keep them right on your belly and right on your heart. And what we're going to do is we're going to start down at our toes, and we're just going to give them a little wiggle. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let them really relax and feel them grow heavy and melt into the mat and melt into your floor. We'll move up the legs and we feel our calves grow really heavy. You might want to wiggle your knees a little. Just make sure those joints are nice and loose. You're not holding any tension in the knees. Feel the thighs grow heavy. Feel the muscles, the glutes, all those muscles of the bum. They support us a lot throughout the day. Feel them grow heavy and sink into the mat. You probably already feel the heaviness of the belly and the baby, but you could just give it a little squeeze. If you're holding any tension in your core muscles, now's a great time to just let it relax as much as you're able. As we move up, feel all those muscles in the back that are supported by the incline of your bolster, and breathe in. And then as you breathe out, really let them release and sink into the bolster. For our hands, if they're on our body or they're lying next to us, breathe in and let all the muscles of the fingers relax. Move up and make sure that wrist joint is soft, that elbow joint is soft. Relax the forearms, feel those muscles grow heavy and soft. Feel the muscles of the upper arms grow heavy and soft. Remembering that our shoulders and our chest is somewhere we hold a lot of tension, especially during pregnancy. Take a nice special breath into that area. And try to let those muscles relax as much as they can. Make sure your neck is nice and soft and you're not gripping. Feel free, if you'd like at this point, to take your hands and bring them up to your jawbone. The jaw is an area many of us hold so much tension, so you can just do small circles, right? where your jawbone hinges. Do small circles. You can even walk the circles down the jaw. You can wag the jaw side to side a little if that feels comfortable in your body, but make sure that whole area is soft. Open and close the mouth a little. Make sure you have some space between your teeth, and if your tongue keeps headed up to the top of your teeth, the upper teeth, make sure it rests in behind the lower teeth, because that's another area we hold tension in our tongue, which seems always so silly and simple, but it can really help. So breathe in. Make sure that tongue is down below the bottom teeth. And then go ahead and take the fingers, if you're still giving a massage, and just run them across your forehead. Give yourself, smooth out any lines or wrinkles or any tension you're holding in the forehead. You can come down along the eyebrow ridges. Bring those hands back to the side of you or back on your belly and your heart. Take a nice breath in. Let it all the way out, nice and slowly. Maybe take one last moment to really connect to your baby. Give it a little squeeze. If you did set an intention at the beginning of this practice, go ahead and remember that intention now. If it was for you or your baby, whoever it was for, just think of that one more time as you breathe in and breathe out. And then we're going to slowly, ever so slowly, come back up. If you are too comfy and just need to keep taking a rest there, go for it. Be my guest. You deserve all the rest you can snag. If not, we're going to slowly push our bodies up and come back up to meet and sitting. And I just have two things to end out practice. I'm going to take my hands together at my heart. I'm going to bring them up to my forehead or my third eye. And I like to say, may I have kind thoughts. Bring my hands to my lips. May I have kind words. Bring my hands to my heart. May I have a kind heart towards myself and others. And then I always sing a namaste song at the end of my classes. It actually started with the children's classes I teach, but now the adults always ask for it too. So I'll put it on here for you, and if it brings you some peace, lovely. If namaste doesn't resonate for you, because I know some people it doesn't, feel free to just put in the word thank you. And I want to thank you for coming to practice today. I want to thank you for honoring your body and taking time for your body and your mind and the health of your baby as well. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your pregnancy and you have a safe delivery and a healthy baby. So let's bring our hands together at our heart and we sing, my inner light, it shines for you. Your inner light is shining too. The beauty in me sees the beauty in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for coming today. Namaste.